Hello everyone, my name is Dee Dee Butler and I'd like to welcome you to today's training webinar, Underground Ring Design Plotting and Reporting. Your host today is Amanda Garcia. Amanda is an engineer with our Technical Services Group and provides consulting and training services in the North American region. A few things before we get started. First, today's webinar will conclude with a question and answer session, so please feel free to write questions in the panel on the right-hand side of your screen. Also, you will receive a link to a recording of this webinar by email in case you'd like to see it again. It will also be available on the Maptek website at a later date. I'll now hand it over to Amanda.
Good morning, everyone. As Dee Dee said, I'm Amanda Garcia, mining engineer with Technical Services here in the North America Denver office. I've been with Maptek for about 7 years and have trained and implemented ring design programs and processes for many of our clients throughout the US and Canada. We have implemented for long hole stoping, cut and fill, and have even used the tools for generating and reporting bolting layouts. I'm sure I've met or spoken with many of you on the phone, and I thank you for joining us, taking time out of your day to get some information on ring design reporting and plotting. Here is the agenda for the 30-minute training webinar. I'll be showing you how to set up and customize multiple report formats. In one scenario, you may need a high-level report on the number of rings, drill holes, and the total lengths to report to managers and foremen. In another scenario, your report may be going to drillers who need more information, such as the ring dips, hole offsets from reference line, and hole directions. If you're using ring design tools for explosives planning, you can also set up reports specifically for that scenario as well. We'll also be looking at the different reporting options in the ring design. We'll be reporting to .csv and .rep formats. I'll be walking through examples of both and explaining the benefits of each. We'll be detailing your ring sections for plotting, which is crucial for conveying the proper information to your drillers. I'll demonstrate polygonal outline section profiles of some of your triangulations, such as your stopes, ore contacts, drill room. We'll be labeling, doing some dimensioning on the ring sections. Then we'll take a look at the special drafting sheets. Drafting sheets for ring design can be used to get your ring layouts and reports all on one sheet of paper. I'll be showing you the 2 items needed to take a drafting sheet from a basic one to one that can be used for ring design plotting and reporting. And finally, I'll show you how to plot your ring layouts in batch. So let's open up Vulcan and get started. All right, this is the example we're going to be working with. Here I have ring section lines and a ref line and a drift that we are going to be drilling down to. Let's open up our ring design database. So I've already gone through and designed all of my holes for this stope. I have a drill hole database specifically for this stope, and I have a layer associated with where the holes should be lined up, and this is that rings layer. Now I have my holes loaded on the screen. I'm ready to get my sections ready for plotting and also do some reporting. So we're going to hit this Navigate Rings button up on our ring design toolbar. Up here in my current ring, I can see I'm in ring 1, ring 2. We'll be looking at these rings as examples. I already went through and created some layers of some of my profiles. I'll get those loaded onto the screen. Before we do any plotting, we'll take a look at some of the reporting options. So in underground ring design, you have these options at the bottom for reporting and plotting. Let's start with Edit Ring Report Format. In this dropdown, I have multiple formats defined depending on where I'm reporting or who I'm reporting to. So let's look at my foreman report. As you click through each of these options, you can customize this report to report different information. In this one, I don't really care about directions or information about the specific holes, but I do want to know what my totals for length and, say, diameter and rod usage are. Those are the only options I've turned on. So if I come down to the sorting columns, here are the 3 items that I'm reporting on for this report. I'll go ahead and save that. Let me go back into the Edit Ring Report format. Let's take one look at one that's a little bit more detailed for my drillers. In this one, I have specified to report on collar information. I want to know what the collar offsets are from a reference line. I also want to know directional information. Same thing will come down to the sorting columns, and you can pick and choose the order that each of these items gets reported. You can also go through and set up options for explosives reporting, and then we can do a save as here, and you can type in a different name for this new report. I'm going to hit cancel here and simply save. Whatever the last report is that you have active or open, that is the report format that will get used in underground ring design report on rings. So if you need to switch back and forth between your different report formats, just open up edit ring report format again, switch over to the one you want to use, hit OK. The panel comes up, just hit save. You don't have to go and change anything. Now I want to report on my rings. Underground ring design report on rings. Specify what kind of report you want to output. We're doing just a drilling report in this case. And you can output to a CSV or to a classic REP file. Let's start with CSV, and we'll take a look at what this info looks like. So I'm going to call this the 965 Stope 2. Always practice good nomenclature in Vulcan. And this is ring 1. In the ring report, you can pick your rings by picking, by name, or you can report on just individual holes. Here I know that I'm in ring 1, so I'm going to report on ring 1 only. I'll hit OK. Down in the report window, we do get some information, so it kind of shows us that the option worked. The panel comes back up, allows you to keep going through your reporting. I'm going to hit cancel here. We're going to take a look at Windows Explorer and see the file that got created. Here's my ring report for ring number 1. And here's the basic information that I had set up in that Foreman ring report format. I got the information about each hole, drilling lengths, and then the total drill length. These numbers are the same because I only reported on one ring. Let me go back into the option and let's report on all the rings, and you can see what that report looks like. Report on rings. We'll take out the ring 1 and just say I want everything for Stope 2. And in here, I can use a wildcard. I can do something like this. I can type in 0 and then a star, then this will give me 1 through 9. Or I can just use a simple wildcard to do all rings that are loaded. I'll hit OK. Report down here changed slightly, so I know something got created. I can hit cancel. Hit the Manila folder. Open up this report, and now I have ring 1, 2, 3, all the way through 14. And I believe at the end I have the total summated also, the total drilling length for this ring set. So that's reporting to CSV. Your other option in report on rings is to do the classic report. And actually, before I do this, let me step forward in section to ring 2. This is going to set me up for what a REP is good for. Let's do a classic. This is going to be a ring 2 report. And in this case, I just want ring 2. I got a report to show up. I'm going to hit cancel. Again, if we look in Windows Explorer, you'll see I have a new file in here, a .rep file. So the reason why I like using this is because I can take text from a rep file or a txt file, and I can put it onto my ring section. So if you noticed in the section before, I had information about ring 1 put in here onto the section. So on ring 2, I want that same kind of information, but for ring 2. To bring that information in as 3D text onto our section, we'll go to Design, Create, Import 3D Text. And, before I do that, I forgot to change my Edit Ring Report format. I was reporting for the foreman, now I want to do it for the drillers. And this is really easy just to go back and report on my rings again. Use existing reference line. We are going to overwrite this. I just need more information in this report than what the foreman would want to see. Now I can go to import 3D text, and I'm going to put this on my ring text layer. Hit browse, pick my ring 2, and then specify where I want the text to exist. Oh, looks like I still didn't get that ring reports put in. We want drillers, okay. Save. Report on rings, use the existing reference line. Let me put in another character in there. We want ring 2. Oh, looks like I'm having an issue with my reference line. So if any time you get a pop-up about intersection with reference line, hit the pick again, zoom in, grab your reference line, which is usually the center line down the center of your drift, and then continue. Perfect. Now I will import my 3D text. Pick the .rep file I just created, where I want the text to go, and there's my text information. I can bring this up, align it anywhere I want on my section, and this can be part of my plot. All right, so this is one item that you can detail your rings. I will show you two different plotting options where you can plot a ring section that has this kind of detail already on the section, or we can put it down in a drafting sheet. So more items in detailing. I recommend detailing your drifts, putting in the names of your drifts, your stopes, your ore contact. In this case, I do have a drift at the bottom of my stope that I need a section profile of. So right now this is just a triangulation. So in order to create these outlines that you see on my screen, I used Model, Triangle Utility, Section Profile. Select the layer you want the profile to be set to. I already started a ring profiles layer here. I know that my ring sections are 2 feet apart. I know I have 14 rings, so I'm going to do 1 to the front and 13 to the, or 1 to the back and 13 to the front of my current section. And I'm going to pick my triangulations by picking. I'll hit OK here. How do I want to define my section? Well, I'm already in section view, so I'm going to just use this select by 3 points. And then now I'm going to pick those 3 points, and I'll just be in indicate mode here. 1, 2, 3. Use the only loaded triangulation that I have on the screen to create the profiles. And then I can remove this triangulation from Envisage. And let's hit save. Let's take a look at these ring profiles. There they are. And I might have done them a little bit offset. Nope, they're there. So that's how you create profiles of your drift triangulations. Now I've already gone through and detailed section 1, put in all of my 3D text with just the create 3D text option. Now I'm going to apply this 3D text to each of my ring sections. So I'm simply going to highlight all of these. We're going to use the move function. I'm going to snap to points and snap between my rings because I know this is the distance that I want to copy that 3D text from one ring section to the next. So that my reference point was one ring line, destination point was a second ring line, and I already have my objects highlighted. We are going to create multiple copies in this case, and I'm going to create 14 copies. And then hit OK and translate all. So now if I look through rings, through my ring sections, I have 3D text in each one. Another thing you might want to do in preparation for plotting is put your reference line, put a vertical indicator where your reference line is. So in this case, I have a reference line, which is that center line down the drift, but it's hard to see when you're in a section view. So I just draw a vertical line here. This is about 2 feet high, just so that the driller has a visual aid on where the reference line is in respect to the drift and the drill holes. So the same thing here, highlighting that one object. I'll get out of section view here, use the move, indicate a reference point and a destination point, create multiple copies, and I'll do 14 and translate. I navigate my rings again, go to the next ring, the next ring. Now I have that reference. Oh, I should have picked a line along my reference line. My reference line isn't spot on all rings, but you get what I'm trying to do. Other items that you can add to your ring section are dimensions. So design, dimension, and line. This may be something you want to add in. Let's dimension the reference line to the edge of the drift. I will snap to object here, go from here to here, and you can have dimensions on your section as well. So once you got your sections all detailed, then you're ready to start plotting. Our drafting sheets for ring design are different from any other drafting sheet that you are typically using with like Plot All Wizard. I have some here in my resources folder. They are labeled with a UGB, so I know that they're for underground drill and blast. Let's take a look at a basic one. Here's my UGB A4 portrait. All it has is an internal viewport and a typical title block. There's no room for reporting here. All it does is this is going to be used just to plot out the ring sections. Now, I was telling you at the beginning of this demo that we have 2 items that make underground ring design drafting sheets special, and I'm going to look at this drill demo that I have set up here. Again, we have this internal window, so the object name is called internal, and then I have this rectangle down here. The object name is called UGB_report. This is very specific, and if you use this exact naming, then in ring design, Vulcan knows to put the report for this particular ring that gets plotted in the internal window just below it in this box. The same thing for explosives. So let's look at my explosives drafting sheet. They're the same drafting sheet. All I did was change the title block, and if I click on the rectangle in this case, the object is called UGB_EXREP, explosives report. Okay, so once you add those 2 items into a drafting sheet, whether together or separately like I have, then you have a drafting sheet where not only will you get the section plot in the viewport above, you'll also get your drilling report down below. Let me go back to Envisage. Let's start here on ring 1. When it comes to plotting your ring layout, you'll use underground ring design, plot rings. That same little printer icon is on your ring design toolbar. Specify that I want to add a drilling report to my plot. In this case, I'm going to use that A4 portrait drafting sheet, and that one didn't have any room for a drilling report, but that's because I have already put the drilling information on the section. So I'm showing you 2 different methods on how you can plot your rings. I pick my plot template. We're going to start with the basic one, A4 port. Put in your scale, whether you want to see a grid on the plot or not. Fill out your title block. Then I'll hit next. I get this warning that that drafting sheet doesn't have a UGB report rectangle or box in it. I'm just going to hit OK and continue because I know I already have the report here on my section. In the batch plot options, A lot of people just hit OK through this, but there are some tools in here that'll help organize your resulting plot files. So here, knowing that each of my rings, I have R1 through 14, on the next stope I might have the exact same rings. I want to differentiate my plots from one stope to the next, so I might put in ST01 or 02, whatever stope I'm working on, so that way each one is unique when it plots out. You can control how wide your section is to front and back of your ring lines, where your drafting box is, and then the size of the text on the plot. This is the size of the text of the drill hole labels. 30 is quite large, so I'm going to drop this down to 0.5. And then I'll hit OK. I have to pick the vertical center of where I want the plot to be, so I'm hitting this world button. So if you can end up in a view where you don't see anything, just hit the world button. And I can move my drafting window around my reference line. Right? I've chosen a location. Now I'm going to right click just once. Now I'm prompted to pick the selection criteria for rings. I know that I want ring number 1, so in this case I'm going to use the name option here, and I'm going to type in R01. All right, selected it, then I can hit cancel. I can add additional rings by picking. I'm going to hit cancel again, generating my plot, and let's preview it. So here's the result of using my A4 portrait drafting sheet. I have that 3D text in the drafting window, so I don't have any report at the bottom. So that's one method. Another method of plotting would be to have a section that doesn't have the report on it. So let's take a look at this section here. When I plot this ring, I'm going to add the drilling report. And in this case, I'm going to pick the drafting sheet that I know has the report box in it. Title block is a little bit different for this drafting sheet. And the scale here, I'll probably drop this down a bit. I don't need that 500 scale anymore because I don't have the report to try to grab. Use my existing reference line. All of this is the same. Again, pick my vertical center. And as long as I'm around my stope, I'll be happy. Right click just one. I'll go by name again. This time I'm doing number 4. We'll preview this plot, and there's ring number 4. And in this case, because I used a drafting sheet specific for underground drill and blast, I have my report at the bottom of my plot layout. All right, so that was just doing 2 at a time, individually at a time. Now if I want to do the entire ring set, we would go back into the plot rings. And when I pick the ring to plot, instead of picking a very specific one, I am going to pick by layer. And I already know what my layer name is for my rings, so I can actually come into the name. And we know that our rings are on the 965, ST02, rings layer. And I have 14 rings on this, so I should end up with 14 plot results. So it's going through and generating each one. I'm only previewing the first one. So here's ring 1 that I'm previewing. Remember, I have that section detail on it, so I'm seeing that text, but you see the report down at the bottom of my screen. If we look in your plot files folder over here in your Vulcan Explorer, I can see a layout for every ring that I've created, 1 through 15. When you don't use a good naming convention, you will end up with plot files, which are generic R01 through 15 in this case, and each time you do a plot of your ring set and you move from one stope to another, these files are going to get overwritten. So if you take care to name by level or by stope for your ring set, your plot files will be unique. And then I could come through, preview all of these plot files before I print them out or send them to drillers. Let's take a look at one in the middle somewhere. This is a tabloid size sheet. Zoom down here, the information is plotted right on the drafting sheet. Ring 15 and all of the whole information and the totals. All right, so in summary, we went through reporting to multiple audiences in different formats, from very simple reports to in-depth detailed reports. We looked at how to detail your ring sections with text and supplemental content such as dimensions or section profiles of triangulations. We looked at what makes an underground drill and blast drafting sheet unique and how it can be used in the underground ring design menu. And then we also looked at batch plotting of multiple rings, an entire ring set. Do we have any questions?
Thanks, Amanda. As I mentioned before, please write in any questions through the panel on the right-hand side of your screen. Let's see if we have any so far. Should we expect any new features with ring design in the new Vulcan 10.1 release?
As of right now, I'm not sure. We are still working on the release notes, and there are a couple of items that may have like panel updates, but there were no major changes or enhancements to the menu.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. Looks like we are nearing the end of our time today. If you have additional questions, feel free to contact Amanda directly or email support@maptek.com. We hold a different webinar each month, so please visit maptek.com to view the entire schedule. On behalf of the entire Maptek team, thank you for attending and have a great day.